Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Consulting June time, and every Friday, 5:30 to 6. And today, we invite Dr. Andrew right here, and also Dr. Jessica. Why three of us sitting here? Because we want to talk about some new way and actually like revolutionary way to, help the kids to get into the top schools. And actually, today is a big day because today is the application result release day, right? We got some good news, and we also get some like surprise, in good way or in bad way. One of our very top students, I think it's just because we're pretty sure he can get in the very top school like Harvard, but it got waiting list. So this is one of the surprise we got today, and I feel pretty sad. Let's see what is the, like what's going to be the good news later on. And we also got students got in the MIT and Rice, Yale, Princeton. They are the good news. Brown, okay. And we also have like two Brown waiting list. So we are wishing for the best. Okay. So we all know like for the top schools right now it's getting harder and harder, and especially after those scam stuff. That's why we want to invite you here. Okay, let me introduce Dr. Andrew first. And Dr. Jessica, I think everybody knows, as counseling in Southern EDU. Dr. Andrew, we have been working a while together. So Dr. Andrew developed the college education app 20 years ago. And for the past 20 years, he has been working for the administration in the college and also high schools. And before it's like Yao Zhong International High School, right? So how you feel like being a counselor for more than 20 years?
Oh yeah, thank you for having me. I'm more than happy to talk. And part of what we're doing is educating parents. So part of the biggest thing I find is that high schools have a difficult time communicating with parents because the high schools open from business hours. When do parents have questions about college planning? On nights and weekends. So that's what we do, is we provide kind of that essential service so we can help parents, guide parents and their students through the college planning.
Okay, and because like Dr. Andrew has like so many good results, right? A lot of students from Dr. Andrew got in those like IVs, and I mean the percentage is like very high. I heard like you even got you even got like some inspection from
Yes,
like
yes.
FBI, right? So related to the scam stuff. So can you tell a little bit more about that?
So yes, I've been in this business for 20 years of some sort or another, right? I've recruited for colleges. I have programs and software licensed by high schools. I'm on campuses, so we're well networked. And what you found out is there are absolutely people in the business that are illegitimate, taking bribes or changing things.
Okay.
Our business is booming since that's come out because people realize that's not what we're doing, right?
Okay.
We're absolutely providing this legitimate support for families and their students, because there is a need for one-on-one teaching, test prep, kind of this college advising that's a remarkable service that helps families and students.
Okay, thank you. So because you come out like innocent, right? So you're fine. Okay. So because we were talking about the scam may help, the system to purify a little bit, like the process of this application maybe get like more, I would say like fair. What do you think about that? Do you think the scam gonna, kind of like correct the system a little bit?
I think part of what happens is this is an opportunity for parents to learn about the system, because two colleges are very, very different. We might be talking about college A and college B, but both those colleges have very different systems of admission. They're looking for different kind of students. So what you're doing when you put that application together, it really matters. College A will accept some students, but not others, where college B is really seeking other students and has a different policy. And for parents to kind of understand that, it helps tremendously. And I think what the scam has done is it's really pointed the finger at some schools that were really doing fraud, some shady things that are happening. Now parents are aware of that, and now they're more attuned to, okay, how is it that I get into Stanford, or how is it that I get into UC Berkeley, or could I do? So I think it's helping everybody. It's making parents do more research, ask us more questions, and then kind of understand that system better.
Yeah, I understand. But we just make some like we just did some research for this year. The Harvard acceptance rate is like I would say like create a new record in like a negative way. Okay, it's like only 4.5 something. It seems like getting to the top school is extremely hard. Okay, because we told parents before in our previous open class we want them to train their kids as early as possible. well, now if you want to get into the top school, I mean, you're not waiting for grade 9, you want to start from grade 3, you know, maybe even younger. Okay, so I know like you have a different way. I mean, Dr. Andrew called it a revolutionary way to help the kids to get into top schools. And I heard like a lot of your students is go through from transfer. They skip high school, right? So get ready. Okay, everybody, today's open class probably gonna blow your mind, because I was kind of like shocked when I talked to when I was talking to Dr. Andrew. He really gets some like you know, like a creative way to get into top schools. Yeah, so go ahead and just tell us a little bit more.
And dude, I'll walk you through a few steps here this evening, or and where you're joining me, because what happens is I've been in the business for 20 years. So it takes a little while to get to that perspective, and thank you for everybody joining us online. I'll definitely introduce some of these key features that most people aren't considering with college. And as you look at the big picture of college, you'll understand why it is that we're giving students these huge advantages, to think about it outside the non-traditional way. So we absolutely help families through, let's just call it the traditional way to go through high school and college. But there's all these little tips or secrets that kind of will give you an advantage. In a half hour, I understand. Many parents aren't going to understand everything in 30 minutes. But that's why we're going to invite you back. We'll have this. We're going to push your thinking. Everything I'm going to push you, I hope it's new information, because what I've taken. I support families and have for 20 years all over the world. I'm going to try to focus on attention, key points and tips that most parents aren't asking questions about. So I'm going to kind of highlight what we don't know, and then you're going to understand some of these huge advantages of the things we're doing.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. You want them to skip high school and get into the community college and then do transfer to those top universities. And basically that's what I got, right, from our conversation.
Yes.
Okay. But you know, a lot of people, they just don't want their kids to get into community college, because for most of parents, I would say especially Asian parents, getting into community college is nightmare. Yeah, I always use the word nightmare. What do you think, Dr. Jessica? When we talk with parents, the worst thing they want to do is like, hey, just as long as you can get my kids into the schools, not community college, you know, we are happy about that. Mm-hmm. So for that perspective, what do you think?
So and let's get to the question first. What's going to happen is there's 4,000 colleges in the United States. That's 4,000. If we just asked everybody to list all the colleges you know that are joining us, do you think we'd come up with 4,000? We're not going to know most of those.
No.
We know maybe 100.
Only the famous ones, the only top ones. Yeah.
So what happens is I respect all 4,000 colleges, and we help the family and the student work the way through the system. So they get to the top college, but they're also using other colleges along the way, right? I am literally a PhD, I have master's degrees, but I've attended more than 10 colleges in my life. That's part of what people start to understand better. It's not just one college and all. Many people in their course will attend many schools. Just simply undergraduate and graduate's a simple way to think about it. That's 2 colleges, but again, I have beyond that, and so do many other people.
Mm-hmm. How's the data this year from your students?
What happens with us is, again, I can proudly say is, we get our students in their top school, but a big part of that is the difficult work our team does to sort through what that top school is. Because if you just come to me with some crazy dream and don't meet the caliber, we're not going to be able to help you.
Okay.
But if we sit down and kind of work with your family and figure out what your family goals are, your student, the assets or the strengths of your student, we're going to find your best school. The key there is we're reducing stress for the family. So the idea isn't we're going to apply to 25 colleges and just hope it works. We actually have strategy, and we're sharing some of these numbers with us. You're not going to understand. I'm not helping one family through today in this course, but you're going to see the numbers and kind of some of the thinking we use.
And I heard like you kind of like don't want your students to apply like Stanford, Harvard. You feel like that's a waste of time, right? How comes?
Well, you're going to see, because as we've been talking, we're here. I bet there's not very many high school seniors joining us. Most of you are probably parents with children preparing for college. But if you're a parent of a high school senior and they apply to 20 colleges, let's just say this. The Ivy League has about a 1 in chance of being admitted. So 1 in 20 chances of being admitted to the Ivy League. 1 in 20. If 20 students apply, one of them is going to get in. So that means 19 are going to hear what? No. After 20 years, I can help the family kind of sort through that so you hear less no's. We're going to find you your dream college, get you into your dream college, get you a safety school.
Yeah,
and we're not going to waste the time. Let's look at this.
Okay.
So let's go online, and did you share that? but let's go up to the cost first because,
You wanna compare the cost?
yeah, let's go to the cost.
Well, you know what? A lot of situations like the parents, they don't care about how much they have spent as long as they can just get their kids into the dream schools. So, but if I'm okay if you want to share about, the cost from the.
You absolutely want to go with the cost because it's a different, the United States system is so different, right? It's supposed to be cost effective and affordable.
Uh-huh.
Many other international universities are just based on can you pay, can you cost. So let's go to the very first, how much would college cost?
This is private
No,
college.
go for it, go back.
You want to go back?
Yeah, they
Okay.
broadcasting that right now? Yeah, right there. So
Okay.
how much will college cost? Right now, wherever you are, if you're in California, if you're in New York, if you're in China, how much will college cost? Part of why I do this is because this is what nobody's asking. And I
A
get,
house.
What?
Cost a house.
how much will a house cost?
1 million.
Yeah.
Houses.
That varies, right? The housing, cost varies from coast to coast.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, we're talking about not saving money. We're talking about how to get in there,
No.
I told you, Asian parents, they want to get into top school, and then they are kind of like, they just want to, spend every single penny for their kids.
I realize this, and what I'm pointing out is the question again. As you know, go back so everybody's not. So
Okay,
the very important thing is I'm pointing out the question that parents are not asking. I've
okay,
been supporting Chinese American students for 20 years.
okay.
How many times do you think I get parents accepted to their top college because they said we'll pay everything, and they realize how much it costs and they can't afford it?
How much they cost?
So let's look. If you're going to a private college, so the first part is a private college, and you can do the research. So you look up something that cost to attend per year. So part of what I want to do is just educate people too. Amherst and Bowdoin College are two prestigious colleges on the East Coast. Those are colleges most people necessarily haven't heard of. They're not your top 10 most popular colleges, but they're definitely selective. They're definitely prestigious. Those are going to cost $70,000 per year.
I see.
That's fine, but again, what parents might be thinking, actually, I know most parents aren't thinking this, but if you're going to pay $70,000 times 4 years of college, that is going to then be $280,000. What most parents aren't thinking about is most students don't graduate in 4 years. So
That's
when you
true.
start looking at the fact that only about 30% of students graduate most colleges after 6 years, now we start talking about how much college is going to cost, and we realize why this is so important. 20 years ago, the University of California only cost $2,000.
Yeah, things changed, you know that.
This is the part, and when I say, I know, and I hear parents again and again, I don't care about the cost. It's okay. You can spend anything you want, but absolutely, when you're going through this process, you need to know what you're expecting to cost. Here's the worst thing that happens. We're not going to go into these details about early decision and these binding contracts, but what happens is parents get themselves into a contract that they can't get out of, and their kid can't go to college because they haven't thought about the cost.
So that's the reason you want them to skip high school and use in community college and transfer to the top schools?
Now, Gene, you're jumping ahead of us because what happens is there's 5 or 10 other logics in terms of how to kind of get through the system very efficiently and cost effective.
Let's compare with the numbers, like for the transfer students and also the high school students, because we have been working for the high school student for apply for the university, and every year is like more and more stress.
Yep.
Yeah, and at the same time, I kind of feel like sometimes I feel sympathetic for my students because they really have to go through, like so much. Yeah, they have to stress out so much in order to get into their dream schools. And I was kind of like worried about my son because it's coming,
Yes.
And I heard you have 4 kids too, right?
I do, and so let's look at that cost again so we compare. Part of what happens is, I know it's go back to the price. What happens is a few things. If you understand the strategy, there's a significant difference in cost. So in part, I want to say this is part of the stress because we put so much stress as parents and on our children because it's not just a money thing. I'm not pretending it's just money, but we are understanding now the cost of college is more than most people's house. Now, if you're in Cupertino, not quite, but
A piece of the house.
it's a piece of the house. And for the most part around the world, a college education costs more than that house.
I see.
So what happens is, look at this first, go back to the private colleges. If you're joining us from China right now, what happens is if you go to a private college, go back one slide.
No, we don't have time to
Oh,
go back.
okay.
So you
Because
have to get. to
Here's
the
what
point.
happens. If you have children in China or California, it's a different consideration. So the cost highlights this, but you're in a different pool of an applicant pool. So you have to consider that a student in the Beijing school is different than a student in the Cupertino school. and they're
What's the
considered
difference?
different. Well, we're going to look at some of those. So the
Okay.
first difference is, look, the price of West Valley College. West Valley College is about a 10-minute drive from here in Saratoga. It's one of the 110 community colleges in the state of California. If you live in China, it's going to cost $265 per unit.
But they're all here. I think most of our like audience today is like a local.
Sure, but now look
Yeah.
at the difference. If you live in the state, it's the West Valley College only costs $46 per unit. That's $1,380 for the whole
Okay, forget
year.
about money. Forget about money. Let's see. We just don't want to save money. We just want to get the kids into the top school. How you help the students get into? I want you to compare the transfer program with the, like a freshman undergrad.
So the first, I know you're wanting to jump beyond the money, but think of the money representing an efficiency in the system. Part of what West Valley College, the community college, is where the top students are. Most people aren't thinking that. The top students are in the community college.
Why?
Because that's where they took initiative, they went and they applied to it, and what happens is it's free. So it attracts the top students that are going to go through smart, intelligently. What happens with a private school, I don't mean to diss any private elite schools, but you just get a lot of money and a lot of people just wasting time. I'm not saying the top school that's expensive doesn't have top students, but on a whole, you just have wealthy people. The difference between the community college is it's open to everybody, but you have the best students are part of that group in the community college. And the thing is, it's cost effective, the state policies, everybody's aligned to support it. The community college also has the most support compared to a high school or other things.
So you really want to push everybody to go through the community college instead of like doing the, undergrad application. That's what you're trying to.
Yes, in part, June's helping the audience and the parents kind of think, because what happens is she jumped through this revolution, but in part, the first few minutes just have to get us thinking about cost as a whole. Just think, my own son, am I going to pay $70,000 or less than $2,000? Now, it's not that you can't pay both, right? You can go to multiple colleges, and that's what we're talking about. But just as any parent, I'm not a bad dad when I'm going to save $68,000 by simply making a decision to start a community college early. And that's June's going to keep you invited and why you want to come back as parents and listening, because it's a little more complicated and nuanced in terms of understanding how to kind of optimize this system.
Yeah, because me and Jessica were talking with Dr. Andrew today about getting why his students, got like Princeton, right? You go to Princeton for Berkeley and what other schools?
We got into top schools and we applied to very
top
few.
schools like this one?
Oh, NYU, Penn, Yale,
Okay.
Princeton.
And they are all transfer students.
Yeah, I do have a question for Dr. Andrew
Yes.
though. I mean, we're talking about money, right, as an investment for education, right? And so I wonder, we want our kids to get into Ivies, not only because they're the Ivies, but because they represent some kind of social status, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so do you think the tuition can really buy them or offer them some kind of social privilege after graduating from the Ivies?
Great
Is it worth
question.
it?
And what happens is for parents to really consider, it's actually the opposite. What's ended up happening to a lot of these students who are being forced into this elite institution, they don't fit in.
Okay.
That the reason the Ivy Leagues are privileging transfer students is because they're tired of students whose mom did everything for them, right? Imagine this kid who has grown up every single day and his parents have cooked, cleaned, and done everything for him. He grew up in California just fine. He goes off to the Ivy League, New England. He's never lived on his own. He's never actually spent a night away from his own parents. This is setting up for failure. And what's happened is the Ivy League is accepting more and more transfer students in Berkeley and UC because they're trying to avoid this level of failure.
Okay.
And I know there's people online who know a student that is what's happened.
Okay.
Does that help a little bit in terms of?
We've been talking about college fit. How to be successful in college. I think that's one of the very most important things. I think a lot of parents admit that the college doesn't fit.
That's exactly, and that is the goal. The fit is the overall. Now, we're going to get top students to fit into the top schools. It's just really helping them sort out.
Yeah, we want to compare a little bit for the Berkeley as an example.
But go up two back,
Because you
June.
say like the Berkeley, they admit the transfer student higher. This is law, right? You mentioned the law.
But now go up because
Can you tell us a little bit about the law?
yes, but go up because you're going to have to understand the other part, the many ways of travel. Go up 2 slides or so. Keep going
You
up.
don't really have time. You only have 10 minutes.
Yeah, but
so
what
you
happens
have to jump this.
But no, go because you're.
Okay.
Go
All
up,
right,
go up, go up,
okay.
go up, go up. One more, back. So I'm going to invite you all back to hear this kind of presentation. But what you have to think about when we're thinking about the price of college, it's priced like travel, right? Education gets you from point A to point B, just like a train or a bus can. So we'll talk about this, but there's certain ways that everybody can get on, like a bus or a train. There's other things like a Lyft or a scooter or Uber that you can kind of get from place to place real quick. There's even places, if you like to travel by rocket ship, that are going to take you super fast in the tech world and a traditional college can't keep up with. And the last thing really to think about is you can do it yourself, because if you want to become a real estate agent or a life insurance agent, you just need that state license. I'm not telling your child to skip college, but I'm saying, look, when you're thinking about the price of your education, you need to think about at least 4 different ways of traveling. Because we don't always, I mean, right? It doesn't make sense to take a rocket ship from here across the street, but some places it does. So we will come back, but that's the metaphor I use. And when we talk about this, UC Berkeley is only one of many ways of traveling. So let's talk about the other part of the question that June's getting to, because the cost of college is what nobody's thinking about. And there's lots of secrets and tips and strategies underlying finance, like state policy, what we've been talking about, that understanding this is how we give our families huge advantages. You're not expected to know these laws. Like you're a parent helping your child for the first time apply to college. There's no reason for you to know this. But because we have a team of experts, we're in the know, and we give this college knowledge to the parents and teachers.
So basically, we take Berkeley as example, right? You mentioned like for the GPA SAT,
Yep.
this is like, this is something like they are expected. But for the transfer, they would take a transfer as a priority.
So let's look right now, and they can see what's on the screen. So look, what you can do is admits is the key. And if you look up whatever your favorite college is, admits from last year. They're not going to post this year's data. They're just starting to post it. But last year, you can go look this up, and every college will kind of give this information. It shows you who was admitted last year. 2 things we'll look at here, GPA and SAT. The most important...
More activities plus.
Yeah, but no. The key to look at with both GPA and SAT, those are normal numbers. And in half the countries in the world, they're only using the test score. The confusing part in the University of California, they use the test score among other criteria. But GPA is a number, SAT is a number, they're easier for people to understand. So let's look.
Yeah.
The average GPA for, if you're in the state of California and admitted to Berkeley, was 3.92.
Mm-hmm.
Now what happens is that number changes. If you grew up in China, it's actually higher. And also outside of California, that's a higher GPA. So we look at admit rate and those numbers you see. So within the state of California, 17% of the people who applied to Berkeley were admitted. The
That's
next
still
number,
pretty low.
that is still pretty low. But
Yeah.
now out of state, 15%, and here's where you get the really competition. International applicants, only 8% of people were admitted.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, right, part of what we're doing when your family comes to talk to us is we're going to help you sort through colleges based on where you physically live, right? What high school you went to does matter in terms of what colleges are going to preference you.
But usually Berkeley is not like pretty, I would say, because the computer science become like hotter and hotter. That's why this becomes such like hot potato. But I would say Berkeley is not considered to be like very, very top school in most of our parents, our students. You know, in their eyes, the top school means like Ivy and top 10 U Chicago, you know, those kind of like schools. Yeah. So, but I understand like the rate is getting like lower and lower. I'm very interested, like represent for the parents, right? I'm very interested like how you help them to skip high school, go to community college, and then go to Yale. That's the part I think most of people, they are really interested. Yeah.
And they're going to have to, I'll give you some more details, but that's why they're going to have to come back to kind of understand a few of these.
Yes, yes.
So let's look at 2 more simple steps to take.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're looking at SAT scores, same thing. In-state, out-of-state, and international have different averages. They're different students, right? And you can see the highest out-of-state applicants to Berkeley have the highest SAT scores.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean in Cupertino you don't need the highest. It just means when you look at those averages.
And it used to just like, you mentioned like the Monte Vista have 200 applicants for Stanford, right?
Yes.
Yeah, how that comes, yeah.
So that's what happens is if you're going to the Berkeley, or UCLA is actually the most popular in the UC, and that's what happened to the Ivy League. If you're going to a place where everybody else is applying, it's popular and it's more selective.
Okay.
Let's jump through. Now remember, the point that you first saw is some of these things are not required for transfer admits.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at two other parts, and I won't go into detail, but this is for information. Again, you can look this up.
Yeah.
But this is what confuses parents.
Mm-hmm.
Rigorous courses. So the more rigorous courses you take, and in the state of California, it's called A through G, you have to take A through G classes. And if you take more than 40 semesters, that's 20 classes of A through G, your chance of being admitted is 12%.
More, right?
If you're taking under 20 classes, that's 40 semesters, your chance of being admitted is 6%.
Okay.
So those are the little details that help give a family advantage in terms of, again, when we're looking at a school. Holistic review, I'm going to skip it right now because that's worth a whole talk, but that's when somebody says leadership and your resume building. They're looking for personal qualities, evidence of achievement, and cultural and intellectual vitality. Let's just leave that at that and come back.
Okay.
That is absolutely part of being admitted to
I
top
think
prestige.
this is an amazing part. I want you to compare a little bit.
So this is why June, again, she's been so excited all day. This is the part that's sunk in with her that just
It kind of like shocked me, you know. It's not like really excited because we are helping. We are doing so much work to help students to not end up in community college. And I know you hold like totally different opinion. You want them to get in college. I mean, you told me you want to put your own 4 songs into the community college, just skip high schools, right? So tell me more about the high school. I know you have been working in high school for
Yes,
more than
yes,
10 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, right, we say traditional. People go to 4 years of high school or secondary school and then 4 years of a baccalaureate degree.
Yes.
Let's just call it traditional.
Yeah.
What June's pointing out is if you just look at the Ivy League admits or top selective colleges, more and more students are being admitted as transfer students. Now, this is where you're going to come back and talk further about it, but just look up UC Berkeley admits from last year. You're going to notice there were more than 4,000 people admitted to Berkeley as transfer students. That's actually half the class. There are about 4,000 admitted as freshmen and 4,000 admitted as transfer students. That's state policy in the state of California that's going to privilege and preference transfer students.
How about Yale and Princeton?
Same thing with the Ivy League. So they're following suit. There's a certain amount of space, and closer and closer, half the people who we say are admitted to these schools are being admitted as transfer. If you look at Berkeley in this case, 90% of those students, out of the 4,000 students admitted to Berkeley last year, were transferred from the California Community College.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to look at one more little detail.
Here's the thing. It's like more and more students, they know this facts. What do you think, Dr. Sika? Everybody gonna go transfer, go to community college. I think the accept rate is gonna be lower, right? That's what we talk about.
Sure, but now here's the tip, and again, this is why you're gonna come back. You need to sit down with us and kind of look at these things. But look, there's a huge major difference. So if you do your research, and again, now we're talking, there's all sorts of research to do, but this is, if you do your research on who's admitted as a transfer student to UC Berkeley, there are a few colleges that it's less than 10% admitted, right? Less than 1 in 10 people is gonna get in. Go ahead and click the button. The people who applied to psychology, bioengineering, and business administration, less than 1 in 10 were admitted. Now there's certain degrees, something like philosophy or something, where actually 50% of the people were admitted.
Okay.
Now,
my philosophy is like, you know, you really want to, you know, find out your passion. You don't want to just to go for the trade, you know. Dr. Jessica and I, we have been working with students. We convince the students, do not just go to computer science. It just cannot, everybody cannot be engineer, right?
Yes.
I mean, but people have like the feeling, whatever the job market is, I'm just go for it. And but you never can guarantee after 4 years and 5 years, you know, computer science to be very hot. I mean, maybe it's to be very hot, but your kids can survive and they like it, you know, they enjoy doing it. So my philosophy is like they better find their passion, you know, to find like what they like for different majors. For example, if you like literature, right, or language, so you better get a chance to get in the top schools by studying language. But of course, after you graduate, you probably cannot find a good job because you're learning language, right? So maybe just to give up the choice for the major can help you to get in the top school. So what do you think?
A little bit, and if you think part of what we're talking about, UC Berkeley, the students admitted to UC Berkeley this year had some sort of transfer class, or they had already completed classes at the community college. So if you're a family or your student's going to come meet with me right now in 11th grade and ask me your chances of UC Berkeley, I don't know for certain, right? But the number one criteria I'm going to look at is how many community college classes, how many classes in college has your son or daughter already completed while they're in high school?
How about they shooting for Stanford?
It's going to be the same thing. It's
Okay.
Ivy League, it's going to be the same thing. I'm looking for the most rigorous classes beyond advanced placement AP, beyond IB, International Baccalaureate.
I know you
Highest-
don't like AP at all, right?
No, I don't mind them. The issue is 20 years ago, people took them all the time and it gave you an advantage. But today in 2019, 2020, your advantage comes by taking the community college class, right? And again, if it's one class that's transferring, if it's 5 classes, if it's 2 years. And this is the part that June keeps pushing me on. Come back and visit, because if you're first time hearing this, because I know people look down their nose.
You have time to talk, it's okay. I'm gonna
well,
just
oh, please do, yeah,
talk a
join
little
us.
more.
But yeah, so that's stuff. And part of what happens is when you're thinking about the students that I'm helping that were just admitted to UC Berkeley, all of them took college classes before they graduated high school. So when you're thinking about how to help and give your son or daughter an advantage into the Ivy League or the University of California, it is when they're 15 years old. Take a community college class in the evening or the summer.
But when they're 15 years old, they went to community college, and a community college is for everybody. Basically, they're classmated with someone who has kids, someone who are working, and they're 15 years old. Do you
Yes.
think that's good for their, like personality?
I want to clarify, you meant that they're no longer going to be in high school. But
Yeah,
they
no
just
longer, no school.
transfer
Yeah.
to community college and straight up community college.
It's just like after grade 8. So Dr. Andrew is like,
Yes.
after grade 8, go to community college, skip high school, and then transfer to the top schools. Yeah, that's why we invited him to talk about this kind of like,
yeah.
What about extracurricular, like activities that they're supposed to do with their peers?
Terrific question. So part of the question, and again, we will continue this conversation, and I'm asking parents to challenge me, because this is when you
Yeah, we
understand
want to
the
have
picture.
some parents to ask questions
Please
online,
ask.
please.
So-
Everybody
Please ask questions.
The question is about social emotional development, right? That's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
buzzword. Is my child going to develop socially, emotionally in the community college like high school? The first thing, again, can we get a shout out? We got Silicon Valley high schools here. They're terrific. Palo Alto, Cupertino, Saratoga High School. They're great high schools. The problem is that students are reporting higher levels of stress than ever. We have students staying up till midnight, unproductive, on social media, complaining about the stress, right? We have to shift this mentality. So in part, if you're a parent, part of what we need to do is change how unhealthy the high school is. So if you just compare, if I took 2 students, who's better adjusted? The one who's enrolled in the community college or the one who is enrolled in the high school? The community college student has every advantage. They're more mature, they're connected with more mature people, they're involved in more mature activities. The high school student oftentimes is in a stressful cycle of signing up for more and more extracurricular activities and doing 40 clubs when none of them matter. They're competing and stressing each other out, saying, I missed 2 points on a math test. Yes, your math class matters, but there's far more important things. Your point about the social development on the community college has every single club the high school does. It's just at a college level, so it's better. Like, I don't mean to discount what the high school is doing, but would you rather be at the high school club for aspiring doctors that does certain things for 15 or 18-year-olds? Or would you rather be at the college club for aspiring doctors with people who are 15 to 30? The ones that the community college are more involved in the community, they have more opportunities to
That's a good
volunteer,
point.
they get better jobs.
Yeah, but I don't know how many parents would like to give a try. So basically, Dr. Andrew believed no school, right? So no school or believer. Okay, I would say. So just skip high school, and basically high school should not exist in the future, okay? And then go to community college and then transfer to the top colleges, which the rate is higher than the normal application. We can feel the stress every year. Yeah. So we have one question. What is the grade should go into the community college?
Oh, great question. And this is, in part, you have to sit down one-on-one with us because it's going to depend on the local policy of your college. Now, we're close to West Valley College and De Anza and Foothill College here.
Let's take the exam, De Anza, for example.
So for the most part, 14 or 15 years old is the minimum requirement to enter.
Okay.
So what happens is once you get that age, now there are at least 5 ways to enter De Anza Community College.
What about the friends? If they went to community college, they don't have friends. They don't have the buddy.
They take a buddy with them.
Exactly what Dr. Jessica said. That's exactly what we're doing. So And commuting, that's exactly what happens. You get 2 or 5 students that live in the same neighborhood that are going to carpool every Tuesday night to math class.
That's what you're gonna do for your kids.
That's exactly what happens, and that's what's giving these students an advantage.
Okay, so I just want to double check.
Yeah.
You want to put 4 kids of your own to the community college and skip high school. That's what you want to do.
My own children are going to the community college, but think about the 5 different ways. We're kind of pushing the most extreme, which means you don't even enroll in the high school at all. You can go straight through, and by the time you're 16 or 17, you can have 2 years of community college done, and you can transfer into the Ivy League or the UC system.
Okay.
Let's just say there's 5 other ways. The other way is you can enroll in the traditional high school, do the activities, and just take 1 class every Tuesday night, 1 class in the summer. That's also going to give you big advantages to the students who are not taking any community college classes. Because if you're 15 years old, let's say you're in 10th grade, you take 3 classes that year, and junior year you take 3. That's 6 college classes. That's basically a year of college that you've completed.
That's true.
That gives you your huge advantage. So it's really to push back. I know some people, when they hear community college, they're thinking about the mom who said, my child's immature. He's not ready to go off to college. Yes, the community college has people like that, but that's not what I'm recommending. I'm actually recommending, if you're a mom that's worried about your child being underdeveloped, I'm actually going to recommend the expensive private college for that son.
I see.
Son, right? Because he's going to benefit from that individual attention where there's only 500 other children, and you're paying lots of money, so he gets lots of attention.
Yeah, so basically Dr. Andrew work on with the students for normal education, plus sometimes recommend them to go to the community college if they cannot get into the top school through like traditional or normal way, and they have like the better way to, you know, kind of like getting to the same result by doing the transfer. Okay. If you have already, if you have any question regarding this, you can just text in the chat box or just speak up. We can unmute you to ask questions. If don't have question, we can just stop right here. And just want to make sure Dr. Andrew also provides some free consulting time. So if you want have some like a person-to-person contact with Dr. Andrew and talk about the possibility or the different options for planning, we can, you know, always welcome everybody to book appointment. So we can just ask you to talk with Dr. Andrew, and he's really passionate about this community college transfer. All right, okay. So we also have one of the questions saying, does that mean? I think you didn't finish your question. So if you have any question, you can just put it into the group.
And let me put it in context a little bit. Again, if you're just joining me and this is the first time you've met me, I'm inviting you back because part of what's happened is we're going to give you tips to understand the big picture. But one of them that you need to understand is college is steps. Very few people, if you look at the research, actually go through what we're calling the traditional sense. 4 years high school, 4 years college. Oftentimes, just somebody takes a class in the summer, a class before college.
I mean,
It's
that
just-
part, actually, a lot of our students are currently doing it. They just have like extra course in their
That's
community
exactly.
college. But the thing is, like, gave up high school and totally transferred to community college. That's something, you know, is kind of like make me feel like, yeah, I think parents feel the same thing. Yeah, but the good news is like they got into Princeton, they got into the Yale, they got into those top schools, and that's still good to know, right? Okay, we have one question here. They say, does that mean like the middle college is better than regular high school?
Absolutely, and give that parent props. Middle college is great. So when you do your research, middle college in California is often one of these premier schools. I'm not going to say it's better or worse, but yes, think about this
Save
for my
money,
own
that's
son.
your point.
What do I want to do with my son? Do I want him to go through traditional high school and kind of go through 7 classes a day and what I think is kind of stressful? Or middle college where he's going to earn college credit, it's going to save me money in the long run, and it's going to give him more career prep. So I understand a 15-year-old might not know exactly what they want to do. But by taking those higher level classes in computer science, then they're going to be forced to make that decision.
Cool. We have another question saying, if my child is not accepted to top schools, should he go to a regular college or community college and doing the transfer? I mean, that's what we talked about before. If the students this year's the result is not really, you know, happy
Yes.
about that, what they should do.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, just tell us what you think.
Great question. And what happens, I have to be honest, I have to sit down with a family. Like, It's not a general question because it really depends on the goals of the family, the student, the skills of the student. In general, I would advise against what I would call like a failure mentality. You go off, you put in your best effort, you hear no. You don't want your son going to a school that he doesn't really want to go to. In that case, if they're rejected from the Ivy League, oftentimes the best college to get into is a small private school that doesn't have as big as a name. Now, it depends on your safety schools, but yeah, if the person asking the question on there,
Yeah.
it's not that they can't, but that's a failure mentality. What I'm really talking about with this community college class, we're talking about accelerated students. We're talking about students who are motivated to take that initiative when they're 15, 16 years old. The other thing I would suggest to anybody is if you have a college age student right now, in the summer, this upcoming summer, have your freshman in college take a summer school class at the community college, because that's going to save you $5,000 to $10,000, and it's going to it's going to push your student further along, right? It's going to transfer to Yale or their private college.
I
The
see.
same thing.
I
Does that help to understand?
Yes, I think so, but definitely because this is case by case, is based on the different personality and of the student's background. So if you want to know more and also schedule appointment. So our phone number is 408-627-9403, and also you can always go to the website. And I'm going to put a website into the chat box so everyone can check the website. So this is the part we can find out the appointment. So you can always have the appointment with Dr. Andrew, talk about more like how to plan the college. And this is revolutionary, I would say. Yeah, it's just not really traditional way. And for the traditional way, I have to remind everybody, May is coming, AP test is coming. I know you hate APs, okay? But AP test is coming. So on the website, we have some free diagnostic tests. So you can also use that test to see if your kids are ready for the AP test. Thank you today. We kind of like running, yeah, 15 minutes more. All right, thank you so much for participating. And next Friday at 5:30, we're gonna give a different guest speaker, and we're gonna give a different surprise. Okay, see you next Friday. Bye-bye.
Thank
Thank you, everybody.
again.
Thank you.